Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, now you realized that true freedom is about subtracting the mind or deconstructing the mind until there is no mind is left. So, in the beginning, when you hear this, there's a spark, the interest, the curiosity. Your heart is full of fire to be part of this practice in the beginning. The more you stay in this path and do the work, your interest, your fire in you starts to fade away. Because there are a lot of challenges you'll experience in this inward journey of self-inquiry. Firstly, there is life to live. The practical world is important. If you deny the practical world, now there's more suffering in your life. You cannot ignore that. And sometimes, practical world is more important depending on the situation than sitting and doing the inquiry. So that scenario disconnect you from the self-inquiry practice. And if you have been part of the self-inquiry practice, and when you can't create the inward journey, you get stuck, you get disconnected. Another scenario is, sitting with the inquiry practice creates a boredom because this practice is about stepping away from the fun, stepping away from the world. You're isolating yourself and you're creating an inward journey and dismantling the mind to no mind. And, when you are going backward, when you can't figure out, that failure itself makes you give up the practice because life outside is more fun rather than being part of the inward journey. So, these are the simple examples. There are, many more examples on how people disconnect from the inward journey. And if you walk the path, you will experience the challenges to maintain the inward journey. Another biggest obstacles in creating the inward journey is when you realize that it's about letting go. And that creates a fear. And when the fear comes in, then people stop the practice. That's why I'm saying that in the beginning, when you don't know that you have to let go everything, there's a spark for the practice. Your ego is loving the practice. But when you realize that your ego has to be dissolved, your identification has to be dissolved, and that itself is detaching yourself from everything. Now, there's a fear of uncertainty, fear of being nobody, fear of death. This idea starts to resurface, and because of that, we disconnect from practice. That's the major one. You can only see that when you are walking, when you have investigated your mind enough. Anyway, now, whatever situation is making you give up the practice to create an inward journey, it's okay. You have to go through that phase. But still, you can create the inward journey with the outward movement. So when you get stuck with the boredom, with not able to figure out, or with the realization that, oh shoot, I have to give everything up. It's about dissolving the ego. then you can witness the world. You know, you can witness the world means you witness the people. You know, notice how people are, you know, making their move. You can just watch. You know, watch without you being part of the world. You step back and just watch. Watch how people are, you know, having their conversation. This part is important. You watch how people are having conversations and how, you know, they are involved in the conversation, you know, how they color the conversation. And when you're watching and listening how the people are having the conversation, then I want you to reflect back in your own life and, you know, ask yourself, do I do that? And the answer is yes. You know, the coloring in the conversation may vary, but we still, you know, involving the drama. How the people, you know, create the conversation and color the conversation, we do exactly the same thing when we are having the conversation. Now, while you're witnessing and listening, you ask yourself, why do people, you know, color the conversation? Why do people talk like that? You know, what's the intention behind the conversation? And if you can, again, turn it towards you and ask yourself, you know, what's the purpose of my conversation? Not just that. You know, there's a drama in the conversation. Why do I create this drama in the conversation? Why? And you know, outward movement can become the inward movement, and we ask ourselves why. And see how the outward process becomes self-reflection, and self-reflection becomes the inward journey again. So, you know, you can do that. I always say that, you know, the simple way to create the inward journey is by witnessing ourselves. You know, when we have the witness approach going in our lives, when we can catch ourselves in any situation, and that particular situation can be a way to, you know, create an inward journey. In life, we are always, you know, experience the struggle, experience the pain, experience the fear, even experience the friction, you know, a little bit of friction here and there, you know, from the world. The world fluctuates us in a different ways, and no matter how we are fluctuated, we can use, you know, that scenario to create an inward journey. Especially when you have been doing the inward journey for a long time and you get bored, let your life experience, you know, make you align to inward journey by acknowledging what's happening in your life and using the life moment to be part of the inward journey. And simple way to, you know, be part of the inward journey is asking yourself, why, you know, why am I experiencing whatever you're experiencing, you know, anger, madness, you know, fear, struggle, pain, frustration, whatever you're experiencing in the moment. And if you see that is happening, you ask yourself, why? Why am I experiencing this? The reason to experience this is because of our foundation. The foundation that is, fucked up. Our life is built up on that foundation, and we are moving from that foundation. And when something happens that doesn't align with our foundation, then there's a fight, there's a struggle, there's a pain, there's a fear, there's a conflict. A lot of the limited experience come in. And to resolve that, to dissolve or to dismantle that experience is by tracing your situation back and asking ourselves, why am I experiencing this or that? That's the simple way. This kind of practice actually maintains your spark in your inward journey. This is to maintain the new beginner's spark. You're allowing life to guide you rather than you creating the boundary to create the inward journey. So again, if you get stuck in the inward journey, let the life teach you to create the inward journey. That's one. And sometimes, if the inward journey is not happening, enjoy the outward journey and just witness the outward journey. Just watch, how people move, how people speak, how people do things, and see whether you're doing those things or not. And again, I said, definitely you're doing the same thing. The coloring may vary, but but still the same thing is happening. Okay, so from that also you can come back to create the inward journey. Okay, that's all in this video. Hope this video makes sense to some extent. Keep moving backward in your mind. Thanks for watching the video. Take care for now. Bye.